Ochai Agbaji is playing, which is pretty nice.
Defense, yeah.
Okay, man. Damn. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wim Lou. You're listening to the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. Make sure you find Hello and Welcome wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe. Please rate and review the program. Also, keep commenting, liking, subscribing to the channel on YouTube. We're seeing great growth on that front. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Hello and Welcome Pod. Honestly, the more that you guys follow and subscribe, the less that we'll bug you about it at the top of every episode. But appreciate you guys. Today we are answering fan questions. So we will do that with producer and co-host Alex Wong. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Also, shout out to everybody for all the support on the show through the first month. Make sure, like Will mentioned, keep rating our podcasts, leaving reviews. Are you following Hello Welcome Pod on TikTok, or what's going on, Will?
I made a whole TikTok account just to follow it. Like, my official account is a burner account, just to follow our own account and content. But
is it? Yeah. What's your name? D-Day Lewis? Isn't that your Reddit name?
That is my Reddit name. That was also my Raptors Republic comment name.
Did you watch Phantom Thread or something?
I don't know. I think it was like Gangs of New York or something. He killed that
early. Early D-Day Lewis.
Oh man, that was D-Day for him, man. He stormed the
this guy's
academy.
D-Day 1, man. This guy's a D-Day 1, man. I respect that.
Salute, man. Salute.
Yeah. Lots of questions to get to today, but also, this weekend we had a chance to go to the Team Canada Superfan Send-Off presented by Sam McDaddy.
Oh, man.
At the Goring Center at U of T. So Team Canada had their men's, women's, and Paralympics team members there, and they participated in a bunch of skills challenges. Some more entertaining than others. Narrated by the great Herbie Kuhn. It was a great turnout. A send-off before, of course, the men's team is heading to Vegas. They're going to play Team USA this week, and then of course they're all heading to Paris. Super cool event to be at, right, Will? Yeah,
it was actually, first off, it was really fun. Like, we actually need a lot more community events like this. Like, the fact that they got so many athletes out, and it was like the entire men's team. It was a few members of the women's team, a few members of the Paralympic team. But you got to see all those people in a very intimate setting for like $24, right? And like, when you think about how much it is to go to a Raptor game these days, how much it is to be anywhere near any of these NBA events, the fact that there was only $24 and the fact that it was in a really accessible place like U of T, which is obviously center of the city type of thing, it was a really good time, and I think more than anything else, it was just great to see lots of people with lots of kids there, cheering on sort of, obviously our national programs, but more than anything else, I just like the fact that we had these type of events. It reminded me in a way of I know I wasn't really around for these, but when Vince Carter used to do those events in the summertime, and it was the summer celebrity games and stuff like that would happen. They were for the community, and this felt like for the community. So honestly, a huge shout out to Canada Basketball, to U of T for hosting, and of course to Superfan for actually putting this whole event together. It was actually really fun. Yeah,
it's nice to see former Raptor Kem Birch in the number 92.
Oh, man.
Crushing the passing drill, the passing competition.
Yeah, it was like All-Star Saturday weekend, basically, without... actually, it was basically All-Star Saturday weekend, without the dunk contest.
And it was cool to see, a rush of fans just with clear access running up to Jamal Murray for photos and autographs.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. It is hard for a lot of fans to get that type of access and to come to an event and see some of the best players, not just in Canada, but in the NBA, in the world, right? Seeing Shea, seeing Jamal Murray, those are always tough tickets to get, in Toronto. So shouts to Superfan, shouts to Sam McDaddy, and shouts to U of T.
Honestly, my question is, why don't the Raptors put on an event like this? No, seriously, I challenge you guys to actually put on community outreach that isn't come spend $200 to watch us from the upper bowl.
Yo, call them out, man. Let's do it.
No, seriously, this is actually great community service. So shouts to Canada Basketball for sure.
Yeah, another great community event that's happening this Saturday at Mattamy Athletic Center is the CCYA Celeb Classic.
Yes, sir.
So for those who've been following us, you know that the event features Jeremy Lin and Simu Liu. And this year, some of the special guests include Jason Williams, white chocolate.
Okay.
Matt Bonner, also white chocolate. No, actually, what is he? Red Mamba or something? White Mamba?
He's the Red Mamba for the hair.
Oh, yeah, Red Mamba. Yeah. Olivia Chen from Warrior.
Yeah.
Jason, Super Chan. Our friends, the Fung Bros. That's also Dominique Wilkins and Jack Armstrong are going to be coaching the teams. So always a super cool event. And also there's going to be, when it's an Asian event, there's going to be a food component.
Absolutely.
So there's going to be a fresh fest from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday at Mattamy. A lot of cool food vendors, including our friends from Hong Shing. Got Asha noodles, eatable popcorn, Roselle desserts, and more. So anyway, it's gonna be a super cool event.
Yeah.
Get all the info to the event and tickets. Go to ccya.org/Celeb Classic. It's another one of those events during the summertime that I think is super cool for people to check out.
Absolutely. I mean, I know you and I were involved in this 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now.
2 years ago, we were the play-by-play during the game.
Yeah, we were slandering like Hassan Minaj and slandering like Ronnie Chang. Hassan was actually okay. Ronnie Chang, genuinely the worst player I've ever seen play basketball.
Showed up in flip-flops. He was warming up in flip-flops, which is like an occupational hazard.
I think he wore an aloha hat, which is the Hawaiian regional variant of the hello and welcome hat.
Yeah, he came straight from a flight from Hawaii.
Yep.
And was the absolute worst hooper I've ever seen.
He was terrible, man.
Funny dude, though. Great comedian.
Love
that dude.
Thank you always for giving us free tickets to go see JFL when you're in Toronto or Montreal. I appreciate you. No, but seriously, it just really is a really fun event. And also, where's it at this year? Did I say it was at U of T last time?
You did last time, but it's at Mattamy. It's at Mattamy Athletic Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, at TMU, TMU Bold. Yeah, so ccy.org/Celeb Classic.
Mm-hmm.
We would have loved to be there, but it looks like we will be heading to Summer League.
That's right. We'll be in Vegas, but
we'll
it'll be really fun. Get your tickets. Where can people get tickets again?
ccy.org/Celeb Classic.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can see Alex's family there. So
what? And lastly, before we get to the questions, people have been asking about the Hello and Welcome merch. For those watching on video, we're both wearing Hello and Welcome hats.
I'm pushing this one to the limit, but it is fitting on. This is under the first apron, essentially.
Oh my god, man, that's actually crazy. But yeah, helloandwelcome.show is our website. If you go there and click on the merch link, it will take you to the store link. You can check out the hats, shirts as well. So for anybody looking for merch, just go to helloandwelcome.show and click on the merch link. So
how much is our product, Alex?
I don't know. I don't have the price list in front of me.
Okay.
At the moment, because as you know, I usually get most of my products for free. So
got you.
But yeah, no, go check it out. Let us know about the price point, I guess.
Oh, 35 for a hat is very reasonable. 35 for a hat,
There we go.
Yeah,
there we go. If Will says it's affordable, it is affordable.
I would buy this hat. If I was a loyal listener of the show, I would totally buy this hat for $35. It's a nice hat.
Wow, you're really testing people's loyalties is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Right. Speaking of loyalty, though, people have asked us questions, and
we're
going to answer a whole bunch of them. So thanks, everyone, for answering once again. Lots of Raptor questions. Some questions about the Copa. Some questions about the Euro. I know you've been watching a ton of footy.
Yeah,
questions about the show, emails.
Obviously do the Raptors, and then we'll get to some of the other assorted stuff. So I've categorized them. Let's start with this first question. Actually, it's more of a comment. Please don't talk about Bruce Brown. There's nothing more to say, analyze about this until something actually happens. Actually, breaking news, Bruce Brown did post on his Instagram yesterday being stuck in traffic on the Gardner. So Bruce Brown is in the city if you're looking for him.
I love that he took a photo of himself stuck in traffic on the Gardner with like the CN Tower like ahead of him. And then he also tagged it Toronto. It's like, this is the most like Toronto event possible. Is someone from out of town being stuck on the Gardner driving towards downtown. from the west
Yeah.
side. It's I mean, happy for Bruce.
It's coming from Vaughn or something, man.
I don't know where he was coming from or where he was going, but honestly, going to Gardner was not the right way to go.
Yeah. So the actual Bruce Brown question is, how big of a failure is keeping Bruce Brown?
Oh, brother.
Plus, after the trade deadline last season and picking up his team option, especially given reports that the Raptors had turned down a Knicks late first round pick, and now they're not being able to go into free agency to find cheaper rotation guys with Bruce Brown's salary on the books.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying the front office is on vacation.
I'm making you answer this question every episode.
Yeah, I'm not saying the front office is on vacation, but we did see Bobby show up in his good friend Andrew Schultz's Instagram page once again. I saw that one make the rounds.
With his tongue out.
Guys, leave Bobby alone. He's allowed to have a life. Come on now. But yeah, I mean, it would be a little disappointing, wouldn't it? Right? Like, I think whether or not that first round pick was actually on the table or not, who knows? But I do think that the Raptors ended up coming out of this draft with 5 rookies, right? 4 that they drafted, 1 that they added in the undrafted market. We covered that actually in a video earlier this week, so go watch that. But,
yeah, YouTube exclusive. Go check that out.
That's right. If you're listening to podcasts, like the YouTube page will offer you extra videos as well. Usually involving my gigantic dome, trying to not read off a script and sound robotic. Sorry, Jerome, making you record everything 4 times. But yeah, seriously, it's the first round pick doesn't necessarily bother me as much. I just like kind of want this thing resolved. I just don't really want Bruce like taking minutes away from some of the other guys. Like we Raptors have a lot of guards now. And I'm not saying that Bruce is like not better than like rookies or even like Grady, for example, but like I just think we're focusing on development. I mean, like he's only here because of the fact that he got traded here, plus the Raptors picked up his team option. So, like I think he's also understanding of the situation too. Like last year, he kept saying how like he got traded to Toronto. He's like, guys, I know I'm not here long. I know I'm gonna rent and not buy. And I'm like, okay, man, just make this a little bit less obvious. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Which key free agents did you really like want to tap into in this meantime? Because for me, I don't know.
No, I get it.
I'm not dying to sign Paul Reed. Are you cheesed that we can't sign Paul Reed because we have Bruce Brown still around?
That's an actual question. So I guess we could hop on that. Would you be interested in signing Paul Reed as a Raptors third big?
B-ball Paul. I mean,
a man named after the sport. Yeah,
yeah, the James Naismith himself, Mr. B-ball Paul. That was B-ball James. Yeah.
You're saying Paul Reed does not really move you. Yeah.
He doesn't really move me. I mean, he's a quality player. He'd play in our rotation. There's no doubt. He'd like walk into the rotation really. But
I think the concept is just that like, if there's space to add another, younger-ish player like Paul Reed, why not give that a look?
Yeah.
See if he can develop into something.
Paul Reed, he's like a solid hustle player with like a little bit of scoring touch.
Well, Nick Nurse said he saw some Pascal Siakam in him last season. Compared him to Pascal in preseason. So,
man,
Nick Nurse stole that from Dwayne Casey's book.
This is why Pascal won the box.
When he said Henrik Ellison reminded him of Dirk Nowitzki.
Which Pascal are we talking about? We talking about Bubble Pascal? Is that what we talking here?
Oh my god!
Holy man!
But back to the favorite topic, Bruce Brown thing. I think the thing is just you pick up the option. Obviously, with the intention of trading them, and you only really need one team, right? Like if one team is interested, whatever, you get it done, you get some assets. But you look out there and it's like Caleb Martin just signed for like 4 years, 32.
Yeah.
Like that's like a really good deal for the Sixers. You even go up and look at like Malik Monk, what he signed for. I think that was below 23 a year.
Yeah, it was.
You look at the market now for some of the guys who might not even get the mid-level, like Gary. And it's like, how valuable right now is a Bruce Brown at $23 million?
Right.
Like the market's kind of shifted in a way where maybe a year ago this was a valuable asset in the market, but now you look at the way the salaries are moving, especially for like role players, and it's like $23 million for a role player is a lot right now.
Well, I mean, this is the thing for me is like, if you don't play him, then he's going to lose value, even though he's going to be the same guy. But let's say you don't play him because you're prioritizing development. Then all of a sudden he starts to lose value, and then you get to a point where it's just like he's just on the books as an expiring salary, which yeah, like it is valuable to have 23 million expiring, but there's lots of contracts that are expiring at this point in the league. You know what I mean? The Raptors got like a couple of them right now. Like Vezenkov's in the same position. Chris Boucher is in the same position. Like we just have between those three guys, which like realistically, maybe they'll contribute in some capacity, like maybe 7th, 8th man at best between one of those three guys. Like that's over 40 million. That's just sitting. Well, that's like over 35 million. That's just sitting there like vacant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, that's enough Bruce Brown once again. Once again, we did it.
We did it, Joe.
Next question. Feeling strange about Gary Trent Jr. His price seems to be tanking. We could likely keep him for half his current salary, but do we want that? Would he want that? Maybe he signs a 1-year deal with Detroit or Charlotte. Oh, brother. What do you folks think? Because Gary is... you know how these NBA reporters keep listing like, oh, remaining free agents that are available.
Yeah.
And Gary's at the top of the list right now.
Gary's in the free agency equivalent of like sliding on draft day. You know, like he's just sitting there and the camera keeps panning to him and he's in the green room. He's got a great suit on and you're just like, when are they gonna say his name?
They gotta
like,
show up day 2 to the docks with Mark Tatum.
Yeah, he's basically Kyle Filipowski at this point. Like that's why they kept showing him. How do you think Gary's value felt as low?
I think it was. Well, number one, I think it's just the market. Like there was not a lot of teams with like cap room, and obviously they spent. Like you look at teams like Philly, even Orlando. Like they prioritize guys like KCP. You know, Paul George and Philly. I think with Gary too. Like I just think he like probably 2-3 years ago was a player with a lot of potential. And now it seems like the development has kind of just stagnated. Like you don't look at him as a player who's like got the potential to become this like really, top tier like 2-way wing. Like he's got really good shooting ability, but outside of that, like is there anything else that teams are excited about?
I hear that. I think part of this is obviously is on Gary to like be better as a player himself, but like we're still talking about a player who is a really accurate 3-point shooter, especially off catch and shoots. Like, yeah, we can look at it in terms of what's his potential and what he could have become, and obviously that's less exciting now that he's been in the league for 6 years now and he's like what he is. But at the same time, what he is a pretty solid player. He's 25. I feel like he can contribute to a lot of rotations in the league.
Well, this was supposed to be his like bet on yourself year, right? Because he opted in last season, right?
Well, I mean, it doesn't feel like there was much of a market for him last year either. That's why he kind of like opted into the player option, right? Because if there was a big contract out there last year, he would have just opted out and signed, another deal, maybe in Toronto, maybe elsewhere, probably elsewhere. But
I guess the question is if you can get Gary back at a reasonable price now, like below the mid-level, like should the Raptors just bring him back and have him as part of the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, I think first off, he's not going to get bad presence in your locker room. He's a hard enough worker. Like, the last 3 years with Toronto, he's averaged like 16 points a game, shooting 38% from 3 on 7 attempts per game. He doesn't do much else. We know that, but like, there is a value in that. And I think for me, like if he wasn't going to stay in Toronto, like I think there is probably the option to like quote unquote reestablish his value, right? We've seen a couple people do that. For example, Malik Monk going to the Lakers and showcasing that, okay, I'm not just
that year when he played with Carmelo, with Dwight Howard.
That was a weird team, man. That was a really weird team.
That was a weird team. Why was it around?
No, but the funniest thing was like, okay, so he was like a prisoner of Charlotte, like
yeah.
He was like one of like 15 shooting guards on the Charlotte Hornets. He ends up leaving to go
Michael
to the
Jordan
Lakers.
Slapped him, during a huddle.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that, man. Yeah, honestly, I love that the Hornets are just the way they are. But I mean, he was able to reestablish a value, and then he's like carved out a nice career with the Kings so far, and he's got another huge deal. Dante DiVincenzo did the same thing, right? He's like, okay, go to Milwaukee, didn't really like pan out as much as maybe people thought. Goes to Golden State, showcases his value, and now goes to the Knicks, and now he's a big part of that. Like maybe he can do that to some degree. It's probably not the most appealing thing because he already did sign like a decent-ish deal with Toronto over this period, but. I suppose that's an option for him. Like for example, if he were to go to the Bucks, I feel like I think there were like loose rumors tying him to the Bucks. I feel like anytime like a player lights up the opposing team a couple of times, all of a sudden there's interest. You know, like I think Gary's had some big performances against Milwaukee, but that's the perfect situation for him. Like a team like that where he doesn't have to create, where he could be passable defensively because there's other guys covering for him. You know, and just like feast off catch and shoot threes. But the thing with Milwaukee is like that's kind of what Malik Beasley just did for them. And he had to go take a deal in Detroit. So I don't know. The market is bad, but and Gary obviously hasn't done himself the most favors because he hasn't added that second skill, but he is a valuable player, and I do feel bad for him. Like it's, you know, this is whatever he's going to get signed for, it's going to be below what he actually contributes.
Yeah, and I think you got to think about it from a team standpoint too. I think you've talked so much about like how the Raptors have this like whole glut of guards now, and
Sure.
you know, even with Grady on the team, like do they want to just prioritize kind of looking at some of the rookies that they're bringing in, developing Grady as well?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just don't see, you know, the benefit of continuing having Gary on the team.
Well, is Grady ready to start? That's a big question.
But I guess it's like if you are in a rebuilding year, retooling year, you might as well find out, right?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I'm personally not a fan of just promoting a person just because of development.
Mm-hmm.
I want
No,
Gary,
that's fair.
I want Grady to show head and shoulders that he's
Like
above
he has
Gary.
to earn it. Yeah, like he's got to earn it.
And that's just my personal preference. Like, there's nothing against Grady, but like, you know, that's all. But like, I mean, next season is Grady going to be a better player than Gary? I don't think so.
Yeah, I would probably say no.
Yeah. Like Grady's,
but from a development standpoint, you wouldn't want to see Grady play more than Gary if they were both on the same team.
I would,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I would, man. If you can get Gary right now for like if you get Gary on like a 2-year, $16 million deal, second year as a player option type of thing, like why don't you just sign him and then at least look in the offseason or like trade deadline period to like see if anybody needs a shooter right before the deadline.
Yeah.
You know, like isn't adding a cheap shooter kind of like adding like a cheap reliever at the MLB deadline? It's just like, let's grab this loogie to be our 7th inning setup man. Like,
Stop saying loogie, man.
Can Gary be a loogie?
Oh man, next one. How different does the NBA free agency look if they suddenly shift it to a transfer system like they do in soccer?
Oh, okay.
I actually need this explained to me. So what's the difference with transfer system versus NBA free agency?
Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like I know all the intricacies of this because I mostly like soccer for the sport and not for like all the transfer nonsense. Like, this would be like I'm a fan of like hoops, but I don't really care about like the second apron or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I just care about who's hooping where and how that team's looking. But the transfer system, like you can essentially just like go to a team and buy them like the rights to their contract. So they take their contract over to your team. But instead of like sending them players and picks back, there's no picks, for example.
It's just money.
There's usually no players going back either. It's just a transfer fee. So there's whole entire like teams who are good at developing and they just kind of do that. And then they take a player in at a cheaper value, you know, and then they sell them after developing them. So like Dortmund, for example, is like a pretty good example of this. Like Jude Bellingham, for example, is having just an incredible run this season with Real Madrid. Erling Haaland obviously has been like lighting up the Premier League
from season 2 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, fantastic tap-ins, man. I love the fact that he never touches the ball except for random headers here or there, and it's always a goal.
Yeah, saw him at the battle at Helm's Deep.
yeah. Holy. But like those players all played at Dortmund like 2-3 years ago, you know, and Dortmund was able to take them in and develop them and then resell them at certain prices. There's a couple of Red Bull teams, for example, salute to Red Bull, front of the program, but like
it's like an auction basically. So like, teams just come in and bid, and
so there's like the top end teams like a Real Madrid, for example, that like will just buy like the up and coming talent, or will buy established talents like, you know, whoever like Jude. And then there's mid-level teams that kind of exist to just like develop and then sell, and then they take the profits.
Okay, so it creates like some inequality in
I think it would totally create inequality. Yeah, like rich teams will, for example, just like the Clippers, for example, will just be buying whoever, and there's no like limit really. There's like financial fair play, but like people go around it all the time.
I guess to answer the question, I don't know if it would be good. This is exactly what the second apron is here for, to like prevent this type of thing.
Well, I like the idea that like NBA teams can like short other teams' futures and just take their picks and be like, okay, we'll give you the star now, like OKC, for example. It's like, okay, we'll give you Paul George, but we're gonna bet that your future is gonna suck. And guess what? Like that bet's looking really good right now with the Clippers trade, and we'll take Shea. So I like that you get something in return. Like it really does suck in free agency when a player just walks and you get nothing. Like the fact that like Kawhi came to Toronto, won the championship, and he just walked for nothing. I'm not saying like walked for nothing. Obviously he gave us a championship. That's everything. But I mean like just a general feeling of losing a free agent and you get nothing in return does really, really suck. And that happens a lot more rarely in soccer because of the transfer system.
That one hurt more because it was like 3 weeks after the championship parade.
Yeah. Damn.
So, anyways, in regards to the direction of the Raptors for this upcoming season, do you foresee them going into full tank mode? Or do you think they decide to compete for a play-in? Their choices in free agency and their decision to take so many young guys in the draft lead me to believe they're in full rebuild mode, which has to be the team's best option given the upcoming draft in 2025. But I'm concerned about the organization's refusal to be bad, which will lead to more questionable roster building decisions over the course of the next year. This was a long-winded way of me asking which direction you guys think the Raptors will take in the near future.
Which do we think we'll take? I think they're gonna like go into the season, see how it is after 20 games, and then if they're good, they'll keep going. If they're bad, they'll try to like tear down a little bit. There's less to tear down now, obviously, because most of their main pieces are gone. I think it really once again hinges on our second least favorite topic: when are they going to trade Jakob Poeltl?
Oh yeah, there's a question coming there.
Yeah. So I think that's a really big swing piece, but like realistically, you're not trading Scotty, you're not trading IQ, you're not trading RJ, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those guys are kind of set, and they're hopefully gonna provide a baseline and also like a future ceiling for how much you're gonna compete. But yeah, I don't know, man. But next year's draft is looking really good. I don't know if you watching U17. Like, how much of a sicko are you? Like, I'm watching like Olympic qualifiers. You see VJ Edgecombe?
No, I'm a soccer guy now.
Oh yeah, okay.
Shouts to Uruguay.
Name two players on Uruguay right now.
Great penalty kick. Too bad Vinny Jr. was suspended because of yellow card accumulation.
Sorry, Vinny Jr. sounds like the Brazilian Carlos Jr. I swear.
I was like,
doesn't sound real, man.
I was like, Vinny Jr., the guy who was running around the NBA getting jerseys signed this season.
Vinny Jr. sounds like a Sopranos character that gets clapped after 2 episodes, man. Vinny Jr.
They call him Vinius. Vinius Jr.
I know Vinny is an absolute lights out player. I know he's killed Liverpool in 2 finals of Champions League finals. I love Vinny, man, but like Vinny Jr. always cracks me up.
It doesn't hit like Cafu.
No, if he was just Vinny, that's hard. But Vinny Jr. just does. Vinny Jr. is crazy, man.
Anyways,
man.
What are we talking about? Oh yeah, I haven't been keeping up, but I know that next year's
the draft class is crazy.
Is getting a lot of buzz. There's a dude named Ace. There's a Cooper Flag.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I asked about the U17 because there's like AJ DeBanza is also like really showing out, and he's like 6'9", super athlete type of player.
Mm-hmm.
Predator wing as they call it, which is just really weird phrase.
Yeah, we gotta change
Apex
that
Predator.
Yeah, we gotta change that one. No, but listen, like under Masai, they've never fully tanked, and I think the other issue, I don't know if it's an issue, but it's like you mentioned, they have Scotty and Quickly and RJ like signed to these contracts, and like if you're gonna tank, like you're gonna have to sit those guys a little bit. Like, is that realistic? And also, like,
it's very competitive at the bottom right now.
Right. Yeah. And that's the other thing I was going to mention. It's like you think about teams like San Antonio, put Charlotte and Detroit in there. Chicago's getting in there as well. Probably missing a few other teams. Utah's probably going to get in there once they trade Larry Markkinen. Yeah, Washington's going to get there.
Brooklyn.
Unless JV and Alex Sarr become the new Tim Duncan and David Robinson.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, so like you're already looking at like 6-7 teams. So while I like the concept of like giving a team 20 games to see how they're going to do, like tanking has to be like a full effort from day one.
Well,
And
I mean, I don't know. It's not even realistic to tank, I think, for the Raptors in terms of like out tank like to that degree. Because I think there's like variable degrees of tanking, right? Especially with the lottery odds flattened now. Like, I actually don't mind, especially with the really deep draft too. Like, I actually wouldn't mind like not being Detroit Pistons level bad or like Washington Wizards level bad, because like even if you're the worst team in the league, you could be Detroit and end up being with the 5th overall pick in the next year's draft, right? Which what happened this year. But like, A, the lottery odds are flattened. B, there's so many like talented players in this next year's draft. Like, I actually wouldn't be mad at all if they end up with like the 7th pick versus like the 3rd pick. You know what I mean? And I also think that like you already have Scotty, IQ, and RJ. Like, that baseline alone should be high enough to put you above the conversation of Washington, to put you above the conversation of Detroit. I mean, I know it is. That's the thing too. So it's like, even if you did want to tank, let's say you trade Jakob for just like pure picks, you know what I mean? Like, nothing else in return. Like, that's still not going to be enough, I think, to be competitive with like the very worst teams in the league. So like, you're kind of, because you're not starting from a total teardown, because you started off with a really good player, a couple of really good players already, then like, you know, you're gonna have to be in the play-in. Like, there's no way around it. The Raptors are stuck in the play-in no matter what. Like, they're not good enough to like really ascend into the top 6, and they're not really bad enough to like compete with Washington or one of these other garbage teams.
That's a tough spot to be in, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people are asking these questions. All right, next one.
But I mean, that's
related.
To your point, what you said last like couple episodes ago. It's like, if you like or like really super committed to like tearing down for multiple years process style, you'd have to trade some of the young guys on your team already. That's what the process did. Like,
yeah,
Michael Carter Williams wins Rookie of the Year, and they're like, all right, we traded him immediately. You know what I mean? I mean, not to compare Michael Carter Williams to any of the current Raptors, because that's stupid. But like, that's what they did over and over again.
Well, if you were gonna tank, you would have traded in the OG trade. You would have just gotten back like more prospects or picks.
Right.
Like,
why do they look for players coming back?
Right.
Yeah.
But now you're betting. But now you're obviously committed to Quickly, who I like. You know, RJ, Toronto Raptors version of RJ was really good. Bro. So, but it does put you in this tough situation. God damn it, the Raptors are really stuck in the middle right now.
No, we're fully stuck in the middle. But yeah.
Anyways, next question. What is the realistic ceiling for the core of Barnes, Barrett, and Quickly?
I think we might have done this last year on the Raptor show. Like, we did some kind of version of who's got the best young trio. And I think we concluded around like the Raptors were roughly 10th in that range.
Oh, brother, that's low.
No, I think it was
I wish you had the list.
Because it was like 25 and under, right? And at that time, there were certain teams that, like, for example, like Luka is still 25. Right. Or like Shea is 25. So maybe if you want to cut it down a little bit lower.
Or even like Wemby and any two guys on the Spurs.
Yeah, that's what I think I had Wemby number 2 behind OKC, right? Because just as OKC had so many prospects. Just because of Wemby. But like, Spurs alone, it was like Wemby alone, I'd take Wemby over like 28 other franchises in the league. Are you seeing what Wemby's doing they're not even qualifiers, they're just tune-up games for France right now, man.
Yeah, this guy taking like step back threes. This guy's just going nuts.
This guy running pick and rolls with Rudy Gobert. Like, I'm sorry, like the NBA is going to be cute for a while, and then Wemby's going to take. I think Wemby's going to end up as the best player of all time. Like, that's how good Wemby is.
Wow, that's hot.
Yeah. I don't think there. As long as he stays,
we need a sponsor
healthy,
for that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, get out of.
Where's Laziz Sharma? Wow, I just messed up a whole 2 words. Anyways, let's move on.
That's a wrap. All right. No, but seriously though, like, I think they ended up around 10th. I think if you just look around the league, there are some really, really talented trios out there. Now, of course, I think this year they get their first chance to actually run with the show and like dictate sort of what the team's going to look like. And that, I think, alone is going to change a lot of the situations. Because as compared to other teams, like, those young cores from other teams have been able to establish, like, have been able to run the show at least. And they've been able to, like, succeed or fail on their own merits. Like Orlando, for example, which also we had above Toronto's big 3 or young 3. It was like, well, that team has been run by these young guys for a while, and they've been able to establish like a winning tone, which is really impressive. Like, but Toronto at least hasn't had the full opportunity to do that, especially this year where it's like some guys arrived mid-season, right? Quickly and RJ arrived mid-season. Then they had a bit of a, they had another month with Pascal. Then they traded Pascal, and then injuries started to happen where Scotty breaks his hand. Then RJ and IQ have like tragic deaths in the family, so they miss a lot of time. And by the time they all come back, and I guess Scotty never even came back, but like by the time some of the guys came back, it was like the season's already over, right? So they haven't actually had a chance to run together as the group. So that's the out that I'm giving them, is like, what do they look like when they're the ones who ultimately dictate what the tone and the culture and the success of the team's going to be. We haven't seen that yet. They haven't had that chance.
Yeah. Next one. So we're not rebuilding, but we are in a retooling phase. How long should we give the coach and management if we keep on losing, and if the team can't get better than a bottom 5 defense? Realistically, hopes for this year is probably being in the play-in mix and then maybe in the playoffs next year. So I guess the main question is just in terms of, we talk about timeline for players, but what about timeline for the front office and the coaching staff?
Timeline for front office is interesting, because
Bobby's on vacation.
Yo, relax, man. This man following his Google timeline through the Hamptons. Just let Bobby be a rich boy, man. This is why we joked that he should have been in Crazy Rich Asians too, because he basically live in a Crazy Rich Asians lifestyle. But like, that one's interesting because Masai's contract, I believe, comes up in like 2 years. And so what can he do in these 2 years to secure like an extension or a raise over what he's currently making, which I think is like 15 a year, which I don't, who cares about the money, but like, it's just about like, can you showcase in those 2 years that like this team is in a really good position and he's going to continue to run it. I think that's where the rebuild needs to be, like showing tangible results, right? If this young group next year makes it into, let's say, the play-in and has a good showing, maybe wins 1 or 2 games, and like Scotty's named All-Star again, and like maybe another player joins them on the All-Star team, although that's, I don't know. I mean, a play-in team's not going to have 2 All-Stars unless they're the Lakers. Like, like it's just, let's be honest. But like, let's say like RJ's really continued his progress and IQ's really continued his progress, and they put together like a couple win streaks. They start to show an identity. They have some signature wins. Like all of a sudden, then you would look at this situation like pretty promising. If they don't have that, then you might look at it as like really aimless. Okay, fine, we get another draft pick. Who is that player, and is he going to fit the timeline? And is he going to step in and contribute? And is he going to change the franchise? Like, a lot swings on this upcoming season. And I think that's what's going to determine it for management. As for head coach, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for Darko, it seems like all the players like him, so that's good, right? He spends a lot of time. He spends a lot of care. He genuinely cares for the players, which is really nice. But also at the same time, like, I want to know, like, what is his definitive, like, style, his definitive tone that he takes with the team, and how does that translate to immediate success? Like, we talked to Dwayne Casey last year, and we asked Dwayne, like, how did you manage to establish like a culture with the team? And obviously it was through Kyle and DeMar as well as hard workers, and they took a great leadership role. But like, when Dwayne Casey came in, his immediate thing was, we're going to get better on defense. Because you remember that time it was like Jay Triano was head coach of the Raptors, and the Raptors were literally like the worst defensive team in the league for like 2-3 years running. Dwayne Casey comes in and he's like, we're going to pound the rock. We're going to be a great defensive team. And immediately you saw some improvements defensively. And over time, they got better and better until they were like consistently top 5 defense. And then Nick Nurse comes in, adds a couple of like, new defensive principles. Obviously, you add 2 defensive player of the year winners in Kawhi and Marc Gasol, and they become literally the best defense in the league and one of the best defenses we've seen in the playoffs that leads to a championship. But like, that was like a 6-7 year trajectory that got to that point. But that started with the fact that Dwayne Casey came in and set in a defensive discipline. I think with Darko, he came in to set in a ball movement principle, and like, over time, like, we did see the Raptors average more assists, more passes, things like that. But I want to see where the defense catches up, because that's where most young teams end up making their hay, is on defense, right? Like, it's much more common to see like the Orlando Magics of the world, who like, yeah, they're bricks on offense, but they're gonna really shut you down defensively. So in any case, yeah, Darko has a great opportunity here as well. Like, I'm not saying next year is a make or break for Darko, because I don't want to see like just constant head coaching changes, but I do want to see Darko come in and be like, okay, this is what a Darko led team looks like.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. I think what you're saying too, like with coach, with the players as well, like the roster is like, next season is about just like finding what the kind of new identity of this team is, right? Like, it's hard to kind of put your hands on that, especially given all the things that you described the last couple seasons. Also, what does make your hay mean? Yeah, this is where you make your hay.
Yeah, that's like a farmer thing, I guess. That's got to be like a farming thing.
I'm gonna start questioning your language.
No, I think with
your
Darko
use
too,
of the English language. Yeah.
it's a lot of ESL and watching TV shows and masquerading, as with most immigrants. But I think with Darko too, what's going to be interesting is like, you know, yeah, I don't know. Like I think we saw some of his personality this year, but it always felt like he was like trying really hard to be a nice guy. Like I want that demon to come out. Like, you know, the one that came out after the Laker game, for example.
Oh, after the
I would love to see that happen
Scotty
more
Barnes
often.
rant.
Yeah. I like a coach with a big personality. Is what I'm trying to say. Not like I mean, being nice is a personality, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want a little bit of more aggression.
I want more.
You want
nasty.
him to slowly transform into Nick Nurse. Is that what you want?
Less problematic Nick Nurse would be great, actually.
Yeah. My favorite storyline right now is Sasha Vezenkov gonna just show up in Greece instead of training camp.
He's like, what are you gonna do about it?
He's like, I'm with Olympiacos. What's up?
No, that's like me kept showing on Stephen LeBron radio last season. I'm like, I'm just here.
Stephen LeBron radio really is Olympiacos. Last question about the timeline. What is a realistic timeline for the Raptors rebuild to get back to being in championship contention? It's tough.
Man, I'm not even looking at that, quite frankly, right now. Because like, how can you, right? Like, I think you would need you would need Scotty to take like 2 more jumps in his offensive development, in his overall game. You would need RJ to establish that he's good at what he's currently doing and get even better with the shooting. And then you would need quickly to develop an all-star point guard. Once those 3 things happen, then all of a sudden we can like even begin to look at championship contention. But those are 3 such big ifs that I don't know. Like, it's just too hard to even suggest that. But if those guys get to that core, then all of a sudden it's a lot easier because then you know what kind of supporting pieces you need around them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can think back too, like look at when the Raptors started rebuilding, like building up to their last championship. Like you would say it started in like what 2013, 14. You know, when they got rid of Rudy Gay, brought in all those role players from Sacramento, made that playoff run. And if you like walk that through all the way to 2019, like look at how many different ways they had to tinker while still keeping like a core group, right? Like Kyle was, you know, DeMar, even JV was part of that core group until he got traded in the championship season. So like they kept tinkering, players kept coming in, you started adding players like Serge, and then of course the Kawhi trade. And of course, like it doesn't happen like, you know, in the same way for any like championship build. But even think about that, like that took like what, 6 years?
Yeah.
To finally get there. And in between they were like 50 plus win teams.
Yep.
You know, perennial playoff contenders. So it's like even for the Raptors to get back to a point where with this core group, with this top three guys that they have, if in like 2 years they're in the top 6, they're getting into the playoffs, they're maybe competing, getting to the second round and stuff. And then you can start looking at like, oh, what are the next couple pieces you can add to the roster and stuff. Like I think that would be like a trajectory that I think fans would be happy with.
Yeah, exactly. Like the core guys got to establish who they are, and then the rest of the team can be built around them, right? Like even the Celtics.
And then we hit the second apron and have to restart.
Yeah, the NBA is so stupid right now. No, but like you look at the Celtics, for example, right? It's like, okay, they got Tatum and Brown, so they got a lot of perimeter creation, they got a lot of individual play. They got guys who are, you know, good shooters, good defenders. How do we build around them? Well, they need a center, but ideally a stretch center, so they give them some space. So that's what they got: Al Horford and eventually Kristaps Porzingis. Now all of a sudden you got that portion covered. It's like, okay, what do they need from the backcourt? Well, they don't really need like a ball dominant offensive creator. Even though they tried that with Kyrie, they tried that with Kemba. They're like, you know what? Turns out what we need is low usage, but like super efficient, like role player type of guys. So like Derek White and Drew Holiday. And guess what? Those are the top of the line when we become role players. So it's like you build those kind of pieces around them and all, but none of that happens unless they establish who they are first, right? Like Tatum and Brown had to establish who they are first of all. So I think the Raptors need to see that from their young guys.
Yeah, no, ultimately, like, you know, if Scotty and IQ, like you mentioned, take the step and like RJ, you know, to that regard as well, then everything will be great. And if they don't, then let's see how the next 4 or 5 years look like then. Yeah. Ideally, you know, ideal situation, they get into the playoffs and it's like, oh man, in 2027, it's like, do we sign Grady Dick and go into the second apron?
Okay, this team should not be anywhere near the second apron, all right?
Do we sign Jakob Poeltl and Grady Dick and hit that second apron?
Oh, man.
Can't sell popcorn at Scotiabank Arena.
Nah, hello and welcome podcast.
Not Herbie Coon's not allowed in the arena.
Goodness, man. No, Raptors got to get good so hello and welcome podcast can continue to thrive, man. Please.
Yo,
do it for the sake of the show, all right?
Please, it's good for business.
Or draft Bronny.
All right, next up, what? All right, more assorted Raptors questions. Thoughts on Grady taking the starting shooting guard spot? It would give him reps alongside BBQ, since renamed the Cookout, and work on his defense. There's little downside knowing the Raptors are not title contenders this year.
Yeah, I don't mind necessarily the trial by fire kind of approach, like just throw him in. I mean, he would really have to improve his defense. And I think that's the goal, regardless of whether he's starting or coming off the bench. Yeah, I mean, if you put Grady in the starting lineup, you have genuinely one of the worst defenses in the league. Like, I'm not kidding. Like,
but I'm happy. I don't know. Like, I guess we disagree on this. Like, I don't disagree about the defense, but I'm like, man, I'm happy to let him just see how it goes. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't be against it if they ultimately decide that. But I do think that, like, okay, first off, offensively, it's a good fit. Like, I think the fifth starter around Jakob, around RJ, around Scotty, around Quickly should be a shooter. Like, because of the fact that Scotty's like an average shooter, RJ's like, if he shot it at a decent rate, but I don't know, even watching him like at the skills challenge yesterday, I'm like, I don't know. He's hit a lot of those fives from the baseline, man. But it's, I wouldn't say like he's a plus shooter just yet, quite frankly. And obviously, Jakob's a non-shooter. So like you do need one more prolific shooter alongside of Quickly, especially one that can move and catch and shoot off of movement. There's not a lot of those guys in the starting lineup. In fact, there isn't. So offensively, it's a good fit, but defensively, yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. But like, it's a matter of how much can you improve defensively by learning, like by experience, versus like by how much you work on technique wise, strength wise, and in terms of your desire off the court as well. So I wouldn't be against it if they did it, but like I think I'd still rather see like Gary around for like 1 or 2 more years just to give him like a bit of a buffer. And again, like if you can't outcompete Gary for the starting lineup, then what are we doing? We're kind of in the same spot, right? So
yeah. Do you feel like the Raptors front office have too many quote unquote chefs in the kitchen? Bobby's comments from draft day about how the team was going back and forth on how to use the 31st pick was a subtle sign of frustration for me.
I don't really think they have that many chefs in the kitchen. I think that the 3 main inputs that the Raptors have is the same structure that pretty much everyone else in the league has, which is you have the president in Masai, you have the GM in Bobby, and then you have the assistant GM in Dan Tolzman. Then you have, as with most draft rooms, you would have your scouts. The Raptors have, I think, an average number of scouts as compared to other teams. Maybe they have more focus elsewhere. Like we know the Raptors have more scouts in like Africa, for example, than like most NBA teams. But yeah, they have their head of scouting and stuff like that, and Patrick Enkelbrett, and then they have their head coach. Darko sits in. Like I'm not saying Darko's going to overrule, but like too many chefs in the kitchen for me is like when the owners are there. Like infamously Vivek Ranadive. When Nick Stauskas, he's like, Stauskas? Like, at least you don't have Larry T being in there being like, Dick? You know what I mean? Like it's like Walter?
Nick Stauskas of TSN with the 6th pick.
They really drafted an anchor.
Oh, man.
But yeah, seriously, like, I think that to me is too many chefs in the kitchen. I think the Raptors have a really standard setup for front office.
So Masai is Carmi. Bobby is Sid, and Dan Tolzman is cousin.
Dan Tolzman is nowhere like cousin, man. Dan Tolzman is he like the pastry chef, man. He's Lionel.
Man. All right. Next up, how important do you figure Davion Mitchell will be? Could he start? Could he get to a place where he's playing 30 plus minutes a game? Could he get us above a league average defense? Or do you think we'll prioritize shooting and offense? So
I think offensively it'd be a tough fit, because again, you're gonna get to a point where there just isn't enough spacing in the starting lineup. If you have Davion in the starting five, he's just not a particularly strong catch and shoot 3-point shooter right now. And I think you really do need that as the fifth piece around the other four. Defensively, I wouldn't hate it because I think right now the Raptors do have an issue with like who's going to guard opposing point guards. Like the star point guards you see every single night, right? Like you go around the league and even the Eastern Conference, like you play against the Knicks. Who's going to guard Brunson in our starting lineup, right?
Right.
Who's going to guard Dame against the Bucks? Who's going to even guard Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland against the Cavs, right? Who's going to guard like
LaMelo Ball?
Seriously, who's going to guard LaMelo? Who's going to guard Maxey in the starting five?
Cade Cunningham.
Who's going to guard like Tyrese Halliburton? You know, you know what I mean? Except and that's just in the East where the point guards are weaker. Like if you go on your West Coast road trips, you go Shea, Jamal, Anthony Edwards. You know what I mean?
Ja
like,
Morant is back.
Who's guarding Kyrie? Who's guarding Luka? Like you actually do need a designated defender, right? This is where it's like again, like okay, let's say Grady's in the starting lineup. Who's that job's falling to Scotty, I guess. Which like
the opposing team's gonna be calling Grady barbecue.
Yeah,
they're like, yo, BBQ right there.
Yo, the coach is just gonna draw some sausages, man.
Oh my god!
On a grill, they're like, "That's him. Get him."
They're like, "Yo, get Glizzy." They're gonna run Glizzy action.
They're Glizzy gone, man. No, but seriously, that's why you do need a defender in the starting lineup who can just their job can be to handle those type of players, right? Because again, you go down the list, like you don't really want RJ to do it, you don't really want IQ to do it, and then Scotty's probably the best at doing it, but you also need Scotty's help defense as well.
Yeah.
So, and you're exhausting him on the other end because you're really asking him to do like a ton of everything. So, ideally, this is where you have a 3-and-D guy who steps in. But Davion is more of a defensive player, and also he's just a little bit smaller. Like I actually wouldn't mind. Like I think he could survive against a lot of these options. Quite frankly, his defense is that good, but offensively there just isn't as much there. So. Yeah, I don't know. If you can like combine Davion Mitchell and Grady into one person, that'd be nice, you know? Like that would be a really good 3-and-D player.
All right. Email about Jakob Poeltl. This is from Tommy. He wrote, just has some thoughts about people clamoring for Jakob to be moved. I get the trade to reacquire him was a poor decision by the front office at the time, but he's not overpaid for a starting center, in my opinion. Around 13% of the cap this year, 12% in 2025-26, 11% the year after. He's also still young, has remained relatively injury-free, and also if he's moved, where are we going to get an upgrade or comparable center from? Jakob is a plus defender, plus screener, solid passer, has a good touch around the rim. We don't exactly have any center prospects that are banging on the door to take his job, and the best unrestricted free agent centers after next season are Steven Adams and Ivica Zubac. Enough with the Poeltl slander.
Yeah, I think that's first off, you know,
trade him.
What?
Tommy, I appreciate you, but
okay. I think everything Tommy says is perfectly fair, and it's absolutely true. He's not overpaid. Like you look at some of the, like Isaiah Hartenstein got paid like another $10 million a year over what Jakob's getting paid. Like you can't tell me he's 50% better than Jakob. I don't even know if he's like actually better than Jakob. Like, like you could say, well, he had a really good playoff run and all that kind of stuff. Like they actually have very similar qualities when you look at the two of them.
No, but that's like the NBA salaries are all like it's messed up now because it's like old money, new money right now.
Okay.
Like some guys sign these deals on like old, you know, like under old like salary cap rules.
Yeah.
And then some guys are getting this money off the spike. But I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, I think there's a couple key points there. Him staying healthy is a huge part. Like it really is. Him actually having a defensive impact is big for me too. Like Jakob could contribute to so many teams across the NBA. He's actually vital to the Raptors because the Raptors have no other like defensive centers. And yeah, I mean, I think the question is like, can you at least get back the same value you gave up, like the 8th pick in like a weaker draft, let's say? And I think you could.
Right.
I really think you could get that back right now if you really wanted to, right? Like I think Jake Fisher came on and he talked about how like Memphis called the Raptors during the draft about Jakob, and guess what? Memphis had the 9th pick. So it's like that's probably what they were offering, and they ultimately obviously needed a center. They went with Zach Edey. They drafted it with the 9th pick, but like I think Jakob could still return you the same value. It's just a matter of, again, like team direction. And like that's where franchises and fan bases split, is when they can't decide on like what's the future of the team, and they get really frustrated and they get into like their own bunkers, and they're like, are we team tank? Are we team compete? You know what I mean? Like this is every conversation on Real GM. This is every conversation on Raptors Reddit. This is like most conversations on Raptors Twitter. Like this is just ultimately what happens. And unfortunately, Jakob is the avatar for that. He's just caught in the crosshair. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. Just
there's nothing wrong with him as the player, though, man.
Yeah, just be team hello and welcome, guys.
Let's just be chill, you know.
No.
What do we do, man?
I think to the point, it's just like, okay, like in 3 years, if the team is starting to compete and be good again, like, can you see Jakob be part of this roster? Like, yes, like for sure. But the question also is like, man, like, if you are getting a very good offer for Jakob that's going to help you in the future this season, like, is that something that you would turn down? Like you mentioned, like a draft pick or a younger prospect.
Let's say, okay, so I think I pushed the idea of the Knicks, because the Knicks need a center, like another center, right? Let's say the Knicks come to you, and I don't even know what their salaries are at this point. Let's say the Knicks come to you and they're like, hey, man, Mitchell Robinson's injured again this year. We'll trade you Mitchell Robinson for Jakob Poeltl. Are you taking it? Man,
I don't know. I like Jakob better.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Because Mitchell Robinson's always hurt.
He's a little hurt. Like he's So let's say they'll go Mitchell Robinson and a first round pick in the 2025 draft, because you know how the Knicks have a ton of picks.
Sure. Then I would like maybe think about it.
Okay, yeah. Like that's the type of trade I would try to like look at. You know what I mean? Like I want to get a center back, and I want to get one more asset out of that.
Sure.
And I think you could look around the teams in the league, then like, lots of teams need size, like Houston, for example, they could really use a defensive center.
Yeah. No, I get
Would you take one of their prospects and like, I don't know, Jason
take a pick?
Like, actually, I don't know.
Jason Tate.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought we could at least throw in Jalen Green.
No, we're not getting Jalen Green for Jakob Poeltl, man. Relax.
Just for fun, man.
Relax.
Come on. What if we throw in Sasha Vezinkov's Olympiacos contract, man? Yo. I really want Vezinkov to just show up.
Yo, that'd be the funniest outcome, is he just plays for Olympiacos and the Raptors have to pay the whole time. He's like, what are you going to do about it, man?
Couple quick hitters before we take a break here. Which Raptor player are you most excited, intrigued to watch this year?
I'm most excited to see RJ, honestly. I really like RJ. I'm really pulling for him.
Interesting.
I know his game is like somewhat straightforward, I would say, but I appreciate the ways he's able to drive and finish in between shots, and I just love his overall approach. Like he strikes me as like such a great pro, such a like good head on the shoulders. He's really serious about his craft, and when I see him in the games, he's like super competitive. And that's where it's like last season was really depressing because of like just how pointless it was at times, also how much they were losing. But I didn't really see that get to RJ. You know what I mean? Like he maintained a really positive attitude, and it was like, okay, you know what? Today my starting power forward is Bruce Brown and my starting center is Kelly Olynyk, but fuck it, we ball. Like I love that Kelly was just, or that RJ said that every single game and gave it his best. Like there was no games out there where I was like, RJ's just dogging it.
Right.
And I love that. So I'm excited to see RJ continue to build on his, like he's out of everybody on the team, I'm rooting the most for RJ right now.
Yeah, no, I love that.
What about you?
Jamal Shed.
Yo, shouts to Jamal Shed, man.
Shouts to Jamal Shed, man. He's a dog. Yeah. Raptors.
This guy's like born in the year of the dog. Okay, next.
Raptors rebrand update. Have you guys heard anything? No, it's been quiet between us and the organization lately. Okay. And no, I think, based on just, the last Open Gym episode before the end of the season, they had RJ wearing the Vince Carter era jersey. Yeah. And, all the graphics that they've shown for, new drafted players and players that they've signed, they've continued to use this kind of purple backdrop with the old dinosaur claw. I think all signs are pointing to them using the Vince Carter era purple jerseys. I guess the question is just, is that going to be kind of like a city edition thing where they're going to wear it for just certain games this season, maybe rebrand with the entire court? Certainly with the 30th anniversary season, I know there's a lot of plans behind the scenes of just honoring, different eras of Raptors, and with Vince Carter heading to the Hall of Fame as well. I know he's going to be like front and center of it. So without even kind of hearing directly from people from the organization, I think you can just kind of read between the lines and know that all those things are coming.
Yeah. By the way, my official petition is we call the first era of the Raptors the prehistoric era.
Yeah, that's what I call it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no, I actually think that like it actually makes perfect sense. Now I don't know why.
Put some respect on my book title.
I don't know why I'm cluing it to your book.
You didn't understand that was a dinosaur reference?
No, I knew that, but no, it just sounds good.
God,
for like the
go
first
back to ESL. Man.
Yeah,
it does sound great. It does sound great. The prehistoric era.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but ESL was a sick time, man. You got to just skip boring classes, and then you would just sit in this room. Like I had this like Japanese teacher, shout out Mrs. Ho. And she would just be like, all right, here's a picture of a cat, and then the word cat, and then you'd have to say cat, and then she would give you like, she gave me like Rockets candies, like the little like
the worst candy, man.
Yeah, they were pretty ass, I'm not gonna lie, but like,
that's the 60th pick, man.
She would just give me a rocket candy every single time I did it.
Yeah,
like,
that's what they serve at the NBA arenas once you hit the second apron.
This is like training a dog how to sit. It was
even
like
Team Rocket,
English.
even Team Rocket or Rocket Team's not eating that, man.
Oh man. By the way, I looked it up. Jamal Shed is not in fact born on the year of the dog.
Okay,
that
thanks.
would be 2006 would be his range.
Yeah.
He is born on the year of the horse. Yeah.
Okay.
2002,
thanks.
same age as my brother.
Thanks for confirming.
He's a horse.
Last one. Over your time as a fan, who was a free agent you convinced yourself was going to be a Raptor, only to be let down?
Oh, it's really disappointing. Nick Batum.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It was the year that DeMar was a free agent, so it was after 2016. And like when I think back on it, I was much younger, and like I was like much more into like advanced stats, and I was like,
keep talking. I'm gonna exit the screen for a second, but keep talking.
Okay, all right. Well, as he leaves, so the reason I was into this was because I thought the Raptors really needed like 3-and-D. I think they needed more passing. And I thought that would be, and they needed a wing defender that wasn't DeMar Carroll, who was injured. Oh my God.
With the honey sponsorship at the front too, man. It's beautiful.
Oh man, fourth quarter on Hello Welcome Pod. Why the fuck Batum in? Yeah, Alex for the podcast wasn't. Alex just left to pull out a Nick Batum jersey, which by the way, you only left for like 10 seconds. So is it just like around you at all times? Like,
it's just
how accessible is your Nick Batum?
It's pretty accessible. Yeah, I'm very happy that Batum is back with the Clippers.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
and the jersey is back in play.
No, because if he came back with the Sixers, that would have been really deadly. Because he actually did really well for the Sixers
in that one game,
bro. How many games you want Nick Batum to win you, man?
But Nick Batum was the guy that you wanted. I assume this was when he was in Portland and was like really good.
This is like 2016, and I think, realistically, the Raptors were never not going to re-sign DeMar after that year because they just come off the conference finals. You're going to keep that team around. But I just thought that there was a better option, and obviously it didn't work out that way because Nick Batum got injured, and also because DeMar got traded for Kawhi Leonard. And also just DeMar's just straight up better than Nick Batum. But yeah, that's all. What about you? Did you have a free agent you were wishing on? What about like the 2000s, man? Were you guys like down bad for like D Brown or something? Like what?
I mean, he was here.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
what were you down bad for, man?
I actually can't think. I mean, I guess the closest example I have, I mean, he wasn't a free agent, but like for like a year, especially after Kawhi left, like I was super convinced Giannis was going to come here.
Oh,
like I talked myself into that, like very like
right.
I was very certain because like the Bucks were like kind of going through it. We put them through it in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Then the Heat put them through it.
Yeah, they struggled in the bubble.
Yeah.
And it really looked like that's when Giannis was going to leave. And then, they get Drew Holiday and then all that stuff. Man. They win the championship.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, I want the Raptors to get back to that point where it's like, we're such a successful franchise that we can even, like, begin to approach dreaming about Giannis. Like, right now, we're
very far away.
We are not relevant, man.
We're very far away right now.
Yeah.
Are we the 30th most interesting team in the league right now?
That's not, no, come on, man. Washington is, Portland, we're more interested than Portland. Utah, we're more interested than Utah. Charlotte, we're more interested than Brooklyn. Brooklyn, by the way, is the most boring team in the league by far. Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, Brooklyn.
Nasty with
Yeah.
their great courts and everything.
Hanging on to that Dorian Finney-Smith.
We're
Yeah.
more interested in the Bulls right now. More interested in the
Okay,
Hawks.
okay.
Like,
So
yeah,
we might not even be in the bottom 10.
We're in the play-in level of like interesting teams. We're in the play-in for interest.
We're pretty mid right now. All right, let's take a break. That's your Raptors content, and then when we come back, we have other assorted questions and some emails to get to.
Welcome back to the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway. During this break, we got the breaking news that the Raptors have finalized their summer league roster.
Pow, pow, pow.
All right, first off, head coach. Starting at head coach.
Starting at coach.
Who do you think
The
it is?
gaffer. Who is it? Drew Jones?
Yo, why are you putting so much excitement into this, man?
Who is it? Let me guess.
Yeah, go ahead. It's not Drew.
Is it Eric Corey?
It's not Eric Corey, man. Come on, dog.
Oh man, I don't got no more, man.
It's Jama Mahalela.
Oh, Jama Mahalela. Okay.
There you go, man. Yeah.
There we go. That's the homie.
That's a summer league veteran right there. No, shouts to Jama, man. Great dude.
Yeah.
He coached our team, right, for the media game?
Yeah.
Shouts to Coach Jama, man.
Yeah.
The funniest thing with the media game too was, so whatever, they invited like members of the media to go to Scotiabank, and we played one game and we split into two teams. They got on one side Pat Delaney, assistant coach to coach.
Yeah, Big
we got Pat Delaney.
Yeah, we had P.
They
P.
got Coach Jama.
Yeah,
the funniest thing about that one was we were up 3 with the ball with like 30 seconds left, and I realized that there was no the shot clock wasn't starting until we got past half court. And so I realized that if we wanted to protect the lead, we could just wait in the backcourt until the clock was over. Because the running clock would be going, but the game clock wouldn't start. So we could, even though there was 30 seconds, and typically there'd be a differential of 6 seconds, it wouldn't matter in this case. So I was screaming at Coach. I'm like, Coach, like the clock's out, this and this. And he looked at me like, dude, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, like please calm down. We know you haven't lost. We know you haven't lost a charity game in like 14 months, but come on, man.
Yeah, well, still
Please.
2-0 is 2-0.
Jerome's like, please, guys.
Anyway, summer league roster coached by the opposing coach Jama. Ocha Abaji is playing, which is
bow.
Pretty nice.
Defense. Yeah.
Okay, man. Damn. We got Grady Dick. He's playing again, which is
yeah.
Good.
Lethal shooter.
There you go.
Yeah.
Lethal shooter, and he's not shooting on a rotating rim. He's not shooting on a shawarma
with spikes and flames.
Jonathan Mobo is playing. Jamal Shed
big
is
man.
playing. Jacoby Walter is playing.
Big Walt.
Here we go. Ulrich Chomchi's playing. So
Chomchi. We're chomping at the bit. Let's go.
Braden Carlson is playing.
Braden Carlson, shooter.
Yeah, there you go.
30,
25-year-old rookie. And then, this is actually really exciting for me, man. Drew Timmy's playing. Remember from Gonzaga?
Oh, yeah, I do. He's on our summer league squad?
He's on our squad is loaded.
Damn, he got the headband too, man. Does he still have the mustache?
Yeah. I just saw Drew Timmy, by the way. So he's playing for the Kings right now in the California Classic. Like this is like the real, like, I don't know why they got a discount version of the Summer League, but they got a discount Summer League. And Team China is playing over there. So I don't even know what Team China is playing there for.
Because so China is going to be in Vegas as well, I believe.
Yeah, but I don't know what they're there for because they're not in the Olympics. And
I think they're just there for training. Like,
okay, if they're there for training, they need a lot of training. They lost by like 50 points to like the discount version of the Kings. They got cooked by Keon Ellis and Boogie Ellis, man. Like, what is happening?
Man, what Boogie?
So Drew Timmy's playing for that team. But yeah, I mean, he's also playing for a Summer League team. So
wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of reason to go. I'm really excited to be in Summer League to be able to watch this group because there's a lot of guys to follow here. Javon Freeman Liberty's also playing in, and then some other guys. But
let's go.
Excited for this, man. You hype?
Awesome.
Oh, DJ Carton.
Oh yeah. Drop the beat. Carton on the beat, yo. Shh, I see dead people.
DJ Carton.
Carton on the beat, foes.
Yo, they gotta announce DJ Carton like DJ Khaled, man.
Oh my god. All right. Remaining questions. Yeah. Remaining questions. Are you guys enjoying the Euros and Copa America tournaments?
So this is how much of a sickle I am, right? So Friday, because we had no job. We had I was gonna say we had no job. I was gonna say this is jobless behavior, but we had no pod to record Friday, so we're chilling. And so I watched the first Euro. So that was Germany versus Spain. Goes to extra time.
El Clásico.
Yeah, it goes to extra time, and ultimately Spain scores the goal, so 2-1. Watch that one. So 120 minutes, a ball in that one. Then I watched that super boring France game, which could be applied to all 4 of the games that they played in this tournament.
Yeah, but, no aura.
Yeah, France just outlasts, I suppose. Their who were they even playing, man? That game was so boring. Forget. Oh, was it Belgium? I don't even know.
Switzerland? No, Switzerland played England.
Yeah, that game was so
France-Belgium. Yeah, France-Belgium. Because I saw a lot of Lukaku memes.
Oh, yeah. Shouts to Lukaku just sweating and looking confused. Saw that one, which was also super boring. Then I went to... So that took me till like between 12 and 5 p.m. Took about an hour break, took a nap, and then went to go play Score FC, which, was about an hour and a half kind of thing. 3-0 shutout, you know what I mean? Your man in net, whatever. And then as soon as that was done at 9 p.m., I like hustled home so that I could watch Canada versus Venezuela in the Copa. So that's a 4 soccer day. Man, I'm watching soccer on different continents. I'm playing soccer on a different continent. Like, yeah. So that's how much of a sickle I am. But I'm enjoying it, man.
I've been loving watching just like the contrast of the Euros and the Copa. And even in like the commentating, I know sometimes I think I'm watching on like, I guess like the US feed during Copa America. And it's like, the Euros remind me of like, Wimbledon. It's like so classy. Just like, the matches, like you don't have like because when you watch any Copa America game, like these guys are just threatening each other, shoving each other, fighting the refs.
Yeah.
The refs are like, yo, get up. I know your hamstring isn't hurt. Like, stop flopping. Like, it's just really chaotic. But I think it's like accepted because like, even when I was watching like the Canada games, I know like, a lot of people were like getting on the refs because like at one point, like the goalie like slapped the ball out of the hands of like the Canada player when he was trying to do a throw.
He was playing like Jamal Shed, man.
But I'm kind of like, it's kind of more fun if you just accept that as part of like the Copa experience. Like you just know that this is gonna be what it is. Like the refs are gonna be a little bit inconsistent. It's like a more chaotic game, which I enjoy more. So it's kind of cool. Like for me as a soccer novice to see like the differences and the big difference is Canada needs to find people who can actually like finish.
Oh man,
like
this guy becoming a soccer expert is crazy.
They should be up like they should be scoring 8 goals a game.
Okay, relax. That's just not how soccer works, man.
I'm calling out Liam Miller, man. Come on,
okay,
man.
Yeah. Liam Miller looking a little crazy, man. He looking like Jesse from Breaking Bad. Like,
get it done, man.
That was also a wild PK, man. Why did he?
Oh, yeah. Into section 500.
What's this soccer ball doing in Arlington, Texas?
I love the how certain guys with penalty kicks have that little stutter step that they do.
It's so stupid, man. I'm sorry.
Can you explain to me? Is this like a technical, like a technique thing?
So, the only rule for goalkeepers basically in soccer is that you need to have at least one foot either on the goal line or like behind the goal line. So you can't just like rush out. Because in the past, people used to just cheat. Like there's this infamous game where Liverpool like came back against AC Milan in the Miracle of Istanbul, and like Andrea Pirlo was taking a penalty, and our goalkeeper like takes like 8 steps towards him and closes out.
That's
right?
crazy.
So the only rule for the goalkeeper is he has to sort of stay on the goal line with at least 1 foot. The only rule for the striker is that they can't come to a complete stop or like take a step backwards.
Right.
But the stutter is kind of there to like kind of disguise like when they're gonna shoot, where they're gonna shoot, all that kind of stuff. It just
makes them look really nervous.
No, it looks super dumb. Now, in the past, there's certain penalty takers who have looked really cool doing this, or have had like almost like cheese gimmicks in a way. Like Jorginho, for example, playing with someone who played at Chelsea and Arsenal. Like he had this like really weird elaborate run up where he would like run up slowly, then hop, skip, like pause midair, and then like shoot one way. Essentially, they're trying to wait out the goalie, right? Because goalies are typically going to dive one way or the other.
Yeah.
The stutter run up, I think the first guy I saw doing it on a high level was like Neymar. Neymar was doing it really well. But he
Right.
did. He's like super. He's like one of the. He's like arguably the most skilled player of all time. Like not all time. Like in currently right now, aside from like Messi. So it's like he can pull it off, but most players can't pull it off, and they just look super dumb when they do the stutter step, and then they can't actually finish or they miss. So.
Have you ever had to take a penalty kick in like an actual competitive game?
Yeah.
So like, what's your strategy when you're like face up against the keeper? Like you're trying to wait for him to make a move first.
No, man. No. I don't have an elaborate strategy. I'm right-footed, so I'll usually start like probably 2 steps left of the ball.
Yeah.
Because I want to run up
Do
to
you
it.
do the stutter?
No, I've never done the stutter step, man. I've come up and like done a slight pause, like I've slowed
Fake 'em
down.
out.
Yeah, but typically speaking, I'm right-footed, and I usually like to shoot left. I like to sweep across my body for the shot.
Okay,
but
that's
about
like
it.
your go-to.
Yeah, I'm trying to just like go lower left.
Yeah,
That's
I would just
typically
go
how I
down the middle, man, and just bet that they'll move.
Oh, you want to do that Panenka?
Is
The
that
one
what
where
they
you
call
just
it?
chip it? Yeah, you could come over and you can like kind of like I guess instead of like using a driver, you would like use like a little like a putter almost. Like you like slice the ball just a little bit.
Yeah,
and it just
sick.
floats in. Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
All right. If you could knock out any semifinal team from the Euros based on vibes and replace them with a team that's already gone home, who would it be?
Unfortunately, I pull for France, but they should not be here, man.
Well, after you showed me the photo of Antoine Griezmann yesterday,
yeah, I showed him the Halloween costume.
I will also have to remove France from the semis. Who would we put back in though? We don't want a Homelander. Portugal.
No. Oh, that was the game. Yeah, that was the game. It was France versus Portugal. Yeah.
What was a fun team? What was a fun team at the Euros that should keep going?
I want to see more Germany, man. Germany was really fun to watch.
Okay.
And I hated that they had to play Spain right away because Spain was also like they've just been on a great tear. So I would take France out and put Germany back in or Turkey. Turkey was I love Turkey. Turkey, man. Turkey was killer all tournament. Super fun to watch them.
I would go with Italy.
Georgia,
Italy, all my paisans.
No, man, that Italy team did not deserve to be there, man. Italy's right where they belong right now.
Oh, brother. Yeah. Does Canada's run in Copa inspire confidence for the basketball team at the Olympics?
Wait, how are those two things related?
By the way, by the time you guys listen to this, these qualifiers I think will be done, but Spain is playing Bahamas. So one of those teams, the winners, is going to be in our group, in Team Canada's group. And Greece is playing Croatia. The winner of that is also going to be in our group, along with Australia. So not going to be
group, man.
Yeah, not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But it's like there's no easy outs at the Olympics once you get to that point, really.
Usually the easy out is like whichever host country's like in there.
Yeah,
that's not
or
that
usually
good.
in the past, like I don't know, Canada was probably looked at as an easy out when they made it there. But
yeah, but that was like 24 years ago now. Like
that's actually 24 years ago. But yeah, it'll be a tough group. But it's like I'm expecting Canada to make it through.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how those two things are related though. The men. Sorry, I actually don't. Like,
maybe just from a sense of like national pride and things. Yeah.
I guarantee you that these players are going to be thinking about what the soccer team did when they're at the Olympics.
Yeah,
but I do support both of them. And it's been great, man. Honestly, I love the fact that like the men's team on the soccer side, especially after hearing all the post game coverage. By the way, TSN is just absolutely killing it with all their coverage. Salute to the studio. It's been great listening to Steve Hutchinson,
James Duthie.
Yeah, James is. James is he's a solid pro. He'll cover any sport really, but like
Kevin Klein. Wait, is it Kevin Klein? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. I just think TSN's done a really good job of covering this whole event. But like when they did a whole hour of post game and you got to hear from like everybody, I was just like struck by how different everyone sounds, but how unique that was. Like they're bringing like Newfoundlanders and like not Newfoundlanders, like Maritimers, like people from Nova Scotia. Shouts to Maritime Messi, Jacob Schaffelberg, but like. You got him coming up, Alistair Johnson coming up. Obviously they're kind of representing the East Coast, and then you got like Alfonso Davies, who grew up in like Edmonton. You got guys like the Quebec crew, like Ishmael Kone, great penalty at the end there, ice cold, just like my boy Trent. But like, he's the Quebecois like accents coming out, like Maxime Crepeau, the goalkeeper, is probably like the most Quebecer person you could ever hear. Like he's even got like that specific French accent that is only from like Quebec. In terms of the English speaking with the French accent, like I don't know, it's just really cool hearing from them. And then of course a lot of these players play in Europe, so like Alphonso Davies has like he doesn't really sound like he's from Edmonton. He sounds like he's from like overseas almost. But like Jonathan David's got like a really French accent too. Like it was just really cool hearing from all these guys and like their different backgrounds. And then Jesse Marsh being like the most American guy ever too, to come in with his accent. I love it, man. That's actually how the experience of being in Toronto actually is, like, or being in Canada actually is. Like you get to hear, obviously most people are speaking English anyway, but you get to hear such different versions and accented versions. And I feel very, very well represented when I watch this soccer team.
Yeah, and it's Kevin Kilbane.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thanks, Jerome, for that. Yeah, we need an Asian. We need an Asian Canadian on the squad, man.
Oh, man.
Davies up the left wing. Toulouse in the box. Bicycle kick. Goal!
Yo, never scored a bicycle kick, man. I'm pretty sure I would die if I tried to do a bicycle kick.
Scooter kick. Goal!
I've scored a volley before. That's about as cool as I've done, but like not a bicycle kick, man. Holy. What more do you want from me, man? A header, maybe. Like.
Oh, man. All right, lastly, email from Miriam in Edmonton. Yeah. She had written to us because we were talking about the green onion cake earlier.
Yeah, sure.
So she said, I wanted to write a quick message saying congratulations on the brand new endeavor. Reached out to Alex separately through his Stephen LeBron email when he left the Raptor show in January, expressing excitement or whatever he decided to do next. I probably should have foreseen that Will and Alex would be reconnecting once again down the road. I'm extremely happy that both of you will be continuing onwards, and a special shout out to Jerome too. His work with No Dunks and all of his video edits were amazing. I'm excited he's coming along for the ride. As a listener from Edmonton, I was not expecting all the Edmonton content during launch week. From announcing that you had joined up with the Nation Network, which I had witnessed growing from the singular Oilers blog it began many years ago, to the question about green onion cakes. I'm sure someone has already sent you this or some more information, but here's some additional context. It is true that a green onion cake is up alongside, because you had mentioned that it was really popular in Edmonton, I think.
I just looked it up. That's it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she said it's true that a green onion cake is up alongside Donaires as one of Edmonton's staple food items.
Donaires is one of Edmonton's staple foods?
Yeah, it's in Nova Scotia as well, too, I think, right?
It is in Nova Scotia, yeah.
And she says that you can find the green onion cakes relatively inexpensively at basically any summer festival that happens in the city, as the vast majority of Asian restaurants in the city, which are mostly Chinese and Vietnamese.
Okay.
And if Will was wondering why it was referred to as Suto, and that is in reference to the person that actually brought the concept of green onion cakes to Edmonton in the 70s. He has his own restaurant. And yeah, I read a few of these articles that she sent through. There's articles about Suto in CBC, Star Metro, Edmonton, Pace magazine. So anyways, that is probably enough Edmonton content for you. Just wanted to share how much that made my day on a Friday. All the best on your new podcast. I will be an avid listener throughout the summer and excited for your plans for next season. Take care.
Man, that's amazing.
Thank you, Miriam.
First off, I love that this has become a running gag on the show. Not even a gag, it's just a running topic. But I mean, this is like why you love Canada, man. Like, I know there's got like lots of other problems, and like this is probably not the time or the space to talk about all of it right now.
Science Center shut down,
What else, man? Run through them, man. Come on,
LCBO, that's not my problem.
Gardner's down to 2 lanes, man. That's why Bruce Brown has been traded. He's stuck on the Gardner.
Gardner, he's stuck on our roster. He's stuck on the highway.
They're like, we're trying to trade you, buddy, but it's going to take you 2 hours to drive from downtown to Pearson.
It's going to take you 4 hours to take this physical.
I think it's best if you drive to Billy Bishop and then fly from there to Pearson. And then fly from there to...
Just do a Zoom, man.
No, but yeah, I mean, this is ultimately what's really cool about it, right? Like, you have all these like different experiences. Like, even learning that Donaires was like a super popular thing in Nova Scotia was just a trip, because like that's like a Middle Eastern food. Like, that's a Middle Eastern staple that's like become really popular in like Germany, for example. That's where a lot of migration went there as well. But to see that become popular in Nova Scotia, to see that become popular in Edmonton, to see something like green onion cake, which is like, you can find it everywhere. in China, like to see that become like a staple food in Edmonton, like that's awesome, man. Like this is ultimately why we love it, you know what I mean? And so
yeah, and keep sending us emails, info@hellowelcome.show.
Yeah.
You can also hit the OG info@stephenlebron.com if you want, okay? A couple options for you. And remember, if you want to get our merch and support us, go to our website, hellowelcome.show, find the merch link and click on that. But yeah, those are all the questions and emails for today.
Yeah, this was really fun. So I'm actually really excited about Summer League roster, man. I'm happy that news broke live on the air, so you can shout out DJ Card.
Yeah, no, that was great. And for some people that are asking, like, well, we kind of delayed this latest banter pod because we're waiting on our Summer League plans. Figured it'll be more fun to do a proper banter pod after Summer League.
All right,
where we hopefully track down every single agent and make 50 different connections.
Let's get DJ Karn on the pod so I can say DJ Karn.
Karn on the beat, foes.
Karn on the beat, foes is great. What? Oh my god. All right. On behalf of myself, Alex Wong, Drum Chang, who is desperately wanting us to wrap it up.
Drum's like, I got lunch plans.
That does it for us today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sending in questions. I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to the Hello and Welcome podcast, presented by Betway.